What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on ESPN with a 10-team full PPR setup. We've got the 10th pick overall, so should be pretty entertaining. And while we wait to get to our selection, a quick reminder, if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comments section, whether you agree, disagree with the analysis, along with any questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. And while you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. All the details in the description. But with that being said, let's turn our attention to the draft. And look, pretty simple so far. We're seeing Christian McCaffrey go with the 101. That's going to be the case pretty much everywhere in every single type of PPR format. Now, I have been saying for a while that if Alvin Kamara has Jameis Winston as his quarterback for the entirety of the 2021 fantasy football season, I would be all right putting Alvin Kamara right next to Christian McCaffrey. Now, the news was announced that Jameis Winston would be the starter for the Saints in week 1. Question is, how long will that be for? Will it be, just a couple of weeks? Will it actually be the entire season? Will Taysom Hill get in there and, kind of disturb that situation? So, while for a brief period, I do think Alvin Kamara will probably be outscoring Christian McCaffrey, I still have question marks about the long-term aspect of it, but I love what that means for the short term, maybe for the first quarter of the season for Alvin Kamara. I think the guy is going to be absolutely sensational. What I'm trying to get at is I believe that Alvin Kamara deserves a bump up in these rankings. Like right now, he's the 4th overall ranked player in ESPN's player pool. To me, that's crazy. I think he should be above Saquon Barkley, no questions asked. The first 3 picks here, in fact, have been Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. So you see that Alvin Kamara is still available. I think that's pretty inaccurate, but we'll see. I think he probably goes with one of these next 2 selections. And then you see some of these pass catchers. Travis Kelce ranked 6th overall, Devontae Adams 7th. I'll agree with the Devontae Adams one. I think Travis Kelce a little bit too high for my liking. Then you see Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler. So I would say that's probably pretty, accurate, except with Austin Eckler being ranked a little bit too low for my liking in full PPR scoring. He should be a top 5 guy, arguably. Now, the first 4 picks, again, officially in. Saquon Barkley, there goes Alvin Kamara. So your top 5, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Barkley, and then Alvin Kamara. Whoever got Kamara at number 5, I think, is a great, great value pick. Yes, I realize it's only the 5th pick in the first round, but getting him at that point in time to me is, like I said before, for all those reasons that I mentioned, a pretty good snag. Now, it's starting to pick up here a little bit. Devontae Adams, the first pass catcher off the board, the first wide receiver. Ezekiel Elliott then at the 1-7. Aaron Jones at the 1-8. So right now, I'm hoping we can get, probably a combo of either Jonathan Taylor and like Antonio Gibson or Austin Eckler and Jonathan Taylor. Because right now, when I'm selecting, towards the end of the first round, and especially legitimately here, the last pick of the first round, it's really tough if you put yourself in a situation where you don't get 2 running backs, because trust me, this is a position that will experience a run there. Everybody realizes how important running backs are, how potentially quick of a drop-off there is at that talent. So here, I'm not going to overthink it. Yes, some might say that Travis Kelce here is a steal, but I think we could potentially be in a situation where, we have some pretty decent tight end options later on. Now here, I mentioned it before, I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor. I'm looking at Antonio Gibson. I'll go with Jonathan Taylor, with the offensive line and Carson Wentz trending towards an early return. I think Jonathan Taylor will be in a good situation. Antonio Gibson would have been my other choice. With Antonio Gibson, I do think you get more in terms of pass catching upside. Obviously, the question is always going to be, how involved will J.D. McKissic be? I think that's the only thing that's potentially preventing people from having Antonio Gibson as a, first round selection or very early second round selection at that. But I'm not all that worried about it. Yes, the ceiling is limited, but I think he'll still be a good RB1. So it was a close call between him and Jonathan Taylor. I thought maybe Taylor had a little bit of a higher floor, if you will. We'll see. Then Nick Chubb, Travis Kelce, Antonio Gibson, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, Najee Harris. I know Najee Harris is going to be a popular name amongst running backs, specifically amongst rookie running backs. But to me, I'm not a big fan. I've said it before. The offensive line, to me, the Steelers are still a pass-first type of team. This was one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL last season. I don't expect them to make a quick turnaround here in 2021. And they've been hurt at the offensive line in terms of guys moving on, guys retiring, etc. So it's something definitely worth keeping an eye on. And if Najee Harris, does succeed, kudos to him. I think it's a very tough situation right now for whoever the running back could be. We've seen before where volume doesn't guarantee success at the running back position. We saw it Joe Mixon last year, as recent as last year. So let that kind of serve as a reminder that it's not always guaranteed that volume is going to, guarantee just success in fantasy football. Now, again, high risk, high reward. I would quantify Najee Harris in that category. But let's move on from Najee Harris. We've got Darren Waller with the 8th pick in the second round. Then Stephon Diggs with the 9th pick in the second round. That's extremely good value. Tyreek Hill went with the 5th pick in the second round. So, these wide receivers kind of dropped a little bit. Pretty shocked to see that. And you got great value on, the two top tier wide receivers with Diggs and with Tyreek Hill. Keenan Allen went in the end of the second round. So I was kind of hoping that we might potentially be able to get him, but that won't be the case. Then Justin Jefferson with the 1st pick in the 3rd round. Calvin Ridley with the 2nd pick in the 3rd round. That is insane. That's tremendous value. That's probably one of my favorite picks so far. But again, keep in mind, this is a 10-team league, so you're going to get a lot of really good players drop to you. And this is one of those instances. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire afterwards, followed by A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Joe Mixon. So right now, I'm hoping one of these wide receivers drops to us. Hopefully, there goes James Robinson, by the way. Jacksonville Jaguars starting running back for the entire season, obviously with the Travis Etienne news, him being out for the year. I am potentially considering George Kittle here, but again, I think I'd be able to get TJ Hawkinson maybe in the 5th round. So I'm going to risk it there to get a pair of really good wide receivers. Now, Patrick Mahomes just got selected. Let's see the news here on CeeDee Lamb, him being out. I guess no specific details, but from what I know, it's not anything serious. So let's make 2 selections here. One of those picks is going to be probably Robert Woods, and then our next pick is going to be a little bit tougher. I'm looking at the running back position to see if any just great talent has fallen to us. DeAndre Swift is a little bit risky right now. I don't like the way he's trending. Chris Carson would be a very, very solid choice here. In fact, he's pretty tempting. Just load up on running back talent and then see what we've got available to us at wide receiver. In the next round, we've got those back-to-back selections. I think that might be the direction that I go in, just because, wide receiver is such a deep, deep position. So I'm going to go with Chris Carson here. I love our running backs. The depth, the upside. I think all these guys can be like an RB1, so pretty happy about that. You see George Kittle go with the 2nd pick in the 4th round. Pretty good value there. He was somebody that I was considering, but kind of banking on potentially being able to get a TJ Hawkinson in the 5th round. We'll see if that pays off or not. Then CeeDee Lamb followed by Tyler Lockett. So let's look at some of these other players that are potentially falling a little bit. I think Amari Cooper is somebody that's a tremendous, tremendous value. I'd have him pretty much right along CeeDee Lamb. I've said that before. And so for that reason, if you can get him right now, potentially around after CeeDee Lamb, if that's the case, we'll see. I'd say that that's a pretty good steal. DeAndre Swift right now, a little bit too, just questionable with the coaches saying, is he even going to be ready for week one? This groin injury has been lasting a lot longer than we anticipated. Potential hot hand approach with Jamal Williams. Moral of the story, I think right now at maybe the current ADP, obviously it's going to depend on the size of your leagues, the platform, how high his rankings are, but typically DeAndre Swift is a third round selection. I know right now it's the fourth round and he hasn't been selected yet, but it's coming. So let's say he's a third round selection. I'd say the latest early fourth round pick. Considering his ADP, considering the question marks with the usage and with the injury, I would probably go with Jamal Williams again over him, considering you can get Williams in the double-digit rounds. I think he's going to have standalone fantasy value. So for that reason, I'd rather get the discount in Jamal Williams. Potentially, could be a really, really nice late round piece that is getting you, just flex appeal every single week. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's just straight up weeks where Jamal Williams outproduces DeAndre Swift. As much as I love DeAndre Swift right now, situation not one that I'm all that, in love with. But again, let's look at some of these picks following, the start of the fourth round. I'll quickly break it down. So we had us going Chris Carson, then George Kittle, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, Miles Sanders, Montgomery. Seventh pick in the fourth round, not bad value. J.K. Dobbins, Amari Cooper, great value. See there on Amari Cooper, go six picks after CeeDee Lamb, then DeAndre Swift, then Adam Thielen, first pick in the fifth round, followed by Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen. So we got another quarterback off the board there. Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, and Julio Jones. Was really hoping that, one of these wide receivers would fall to us. A guy like a Deontay Johnson, a guy like a potentially Julio Jones. Barely miss out on that, but it's okay. We've still got somebody like a T. Higgins, somebody like a Brendan Ayuk. So there are very viable options here. I mentioned it before, if TJ Hawkinson is still there, he is going to be a no-brainer pick for me. Let's see here the bigger board in terms of what other wide receivers are left. So we could go T. Higgins, we can go Brendan Ayuk. Those would be at the top of my choice. Or we could, go with a quarterback. Kyler Murray is still available. I know for a fact we won't be able to get him in the later rounds here, potentially give ourselves a really nice positional advantage at quarterback. I'm a big fan of Kyler Murray. I think, I'll say this right now, ESPN's rankings of these quarterbacks are way too low. You're not going to see Kyler Murray be available this late in the majority of your draft. So I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm just going to go with Kyler Murray here. So we got Murray, we've got Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Carson, TJ Hawkinson. We've got Robert Woods. Still no second wide receiver, but I think we'll be able to find a viable wide receiver. Again, that's what I'm banking on here in the later rounds. I like our number one guy in Robert Woods. I think we've gotten really, really good pieces at running back, at tight end, at quarterback. And again, in these 10-team leagues, sometimes you look at just putting yourself in advantageous situations at those positions of like quarterback and tight end. That could be the swing one way or another to who has the best team, because all these teams are going to be really, really deep. That's the thing about it. So differentiating your position and having a guy that can be the number one overall scorer at that position for quarterback or tight end is a big deal. Now, again, for me, it's always a question of what's the value, what's the price that I have to pay to land that type of guy? Because if I had to pay a fourth round price for Kyler Murray, I wouldn't be doing that. If I had to pay, a third round price for a George Kittle, I probably wouldn't do that because I know I can get a TJ Hawkinson later on. So again, it all comes back to understanding the value and understanding, where you can get potentially somebody that's a similar ranking to one of these guys and just knowing your options in that perspective. Now, let's quickly look at this last run on players. After we went TJ Hawkinson and Kyler Murray, you see Dak Prescott, Mike Davis, Brendan Ayuk, Javonte Williams, Myles Gaskin, tremendous value on Myles Gaskin in the 6th round. Then Mark Andrews, T. Higgins, Kyle Pitts, Lamar Jackson, the last pick in the 6th round. So that run on quarterback and tight ends does occur like I predicted. So I'm happy we got Murray and Hawkinson where we did. There goes Kareem Hunt, Kenny Golladay, Robbie Anderson, Odell, and Russell Wilson. So right now in terms of wide receivers, let's kind of sort it out by that position. And what we're looking at this point in time, there goes Jerry Jeudy, who would have been somebody that I considered, especially with Teddy Bridgewater being named the starting quarterback. I think that's going to open up a lot of short passes for Jerry Jeudy. There goes Chase Claypool, another guy that I was considering heavily. So, right now we're going to have to do some magic here at the wide receiver position. We're going to have to pull off some pretty good selections. My top guys right now, Cortland Sutton just went, Jamar Chase potentially. I'm looking at Tyler Boyd. I'm looking at Brendan Cooks. Again, the situation with Brendan Cooks, who's going to be the quarterback? I'm not sure. So that's a little bit of a worry point for me. Antonio Brown, I wonder if he gets back to us if we wait. I'd say probably not. So here, AB will be one of our selections, and then maybe go with a safer pick and somebody like a Tyler Boyd. Jamar Chase not trending in the right direction, but at the same time, it's still the preseason, so I'm not all that worried. I do think right now Brendan Cooks is just a really good value pick. I'll roll the dice on him and see what happens. Deebo Samuel also at this point in time, somebody that I don't mind. I think he's got high upside. We'll see what happens. Obviously, George Kittle and Brendan Ayuk are there. It's a run-first team, so that's something to consider. Right now, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. You know what? I'll go for the upside. The hell with it. I'll go with Jamar Chase here, even though he's kind of struggled in the preseason. The guy was like a top 5 selection, and the Bengals pass up on a stellar offensive lineman to get Jamar Chase. So we'll see. We'll roll the dice with Jamar Chase. He's got that connection with Joe Burrow. Would have preferred T. Higgins, no doubt about it. But I think this late getting Jamar Chase, not all that bad. So I'm happy with that. And we'll be able to get depth at the wide receiver position. Don't you worry about that. We've got sleepers on sleepers. Antonio Brown, Russell Gage, Callaway for the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going to keep in mind. Maybe we get a Michael Thomas. We get a little bit ballsy. We get Michael Thomas here in the 9th round for whenever he does return. We kind of wait for that. And when he does, I think he's still a wide receiver 1. The question is, how many games do we get out of him? So definitely would be a luxury pick, but I feel really good about our starting roster at this point in time. So not too worried there. So I think we could take a risk on Michael Thomas, because if Michael Thomas returns sooner rather than later, and we can insert him into our starting lineup, we have got, I would say, a championship contender type of roster here. No questions about that. So I think he's going to be somebody that I definitely consider here at the end of the 9th round. We'll make 2 more selections and probably wrap this thing up. Because you're going to see a lot of auto picks. You're going to see a lot of, just probably kickers, defenses, etc. start to go off the board. Also, I don't know how I didn't notice this. Darrell Henderson is still available. That's absolutely insane. If he's still there for me, I'm going to absolutely take him. I think he's still an RB2, honestly. Shame on me for not seeing that earlier. Definitely bring that up for you guys if you are drafting on ESPN. Darrell Henderson, sure, Sony Michel has been added to the mix. I don't buy that Sony Michel is going to be the top running back for the LA Rams. I think it'll still be Darrell Henderson. and he's still available here at the end of the 9th round, you better believe I'm taking him here. I think this is an absolute steal, one of the biggest steals in this draft. Darrell Henderson should not be available, folks, this late in drafts. I'll say that right now. Michael Thomas did get selected, so we're not going to be able to snag him. I'll throw that dart at Marquez Callaway here. We'll see. I think potentially until Michael Thomas returns, he can be, a nice piece in redraft. And again, it's the 10th round, so taking a shot on a guy like this, no problem with it at this point in time. But hey, let me know your thoughts on this team. I think we did a pretty good job. I'll give it like a B+ type of grade. I think our running backs are sensational. If somebody like a Jamar Chase, Marquez Callaway, they pan out, very, very happy with this team. And again, I think this is a serious playoff contender. So let's see if you guys agree or not, along with hit us up with any questions you guys might have in that comment section. I'll do my best to answer them all. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. While you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.